Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You are here with Austin from Ohio, and today is Friday, April 16th, 2021. Have a couple things for you guys today, and I want to start off by, again, thanking Mike Decker. Mike, if you're watching, I appreciate you, brother. I really do. And I've looked up to you for a long time. You're always out there doing what needs to be done. The way that you film the trails and all the proof that you get all the time, over and over and over again, it's unlike anything I've ever seen. And just everything that you have done, actually, you are the steeple of a real American patriot, and I thank you. And I hope that I am doing you and everybody else justice in the content of my videos, because I have to try. I have to do a good job, not only because, well, all of you are counting on it, but because in turn the whole world counts on it. I'm not saying the whole world counts on my videos, but if you take a drop of water and you drop it into the ocean, the ripple effect will go for a long way. That's the kind of thing that I'm hoping to get going here. As you guys know, I'm over 1,000. I tried to do a live stream earlier because I was gonna live stream this video, but it said that I have to wait or something like that, and I'm not sure exactly what's going on, but yeah. Also, Tim, I know you said that I don't have to thank you in every single video, and I'm not doing it in every single video, but man, thank you. Every time you say something about me, I can't help but smile, because I already consider you a really good friend, and we've only talked a few times. I watch all your videos, you watch my videos, and I already see the friendship forming, and I am looking forward to talking with you on Sunday, and I can learn a lot from you, and I really hope that you can learn a lot from me. That's how we have to be. We have to teach each other. If you're not open to what somebody else might teach you, there are a lot of people out there who they're very reserved, and they don't think that they can be taught anything because they know everything, and you can't teach me nothing. I already know that. If people that are like that, they drive me up a wall. There's an old quote by Socrates. All I know is that I know nothing. Meaning, the more knowledge you gain, the more you realize that you know absolutely nothing. All of us combined, with all of our vast knowledge of everything we've ever learned, is still absolutely nothing. And that is the truth. You have to be open to people teaching you, because we all have something to learn from others. Always. Which brings me to my next point. I want to challenge some of you, because I think personally that everybody should be making videos. Everybody. We need to flood the entire internet with videos of hardcore truth, so much that they cannot keep up with how many people are putting out videos. Think about that. Think about if there was a huge surge think about if all of my subscribers, all of Tim's, all of Carol's, all of Mike's, all of Richie's, he still has a good bit over on RFB TV. All of Shaking My Heads, everybody, all people just started making videos. I don't think they'd be able to keep up. I think it would crash their system. I really do think that it would. But my challenge is that I really want to challenge at least 5 of you to start making videos. That's what I did. I just picked up the phone one day and I said, you know what? I'm going to start making YouTube videos. And that's exactly what I did. And if you let me know that you are making videos and your videos are truthful, consistent, transparent, and you are not out there sensationalizing things or anything like that, you let me know. I check it out. I will promote your videos. And you have my word on that. I understand people have a lot of things going on. People have, families, jobs. I get it. Trust me, I get it. Because I got a job, I got a wife. I don't have a whole family or nothing. I don't know about raising any children, but I know what you guys are going through with all of that. But if you can, you don't have to, but if you can, please, even if it's just pointing your camera at the sky and filming the trails in your area or just things going on. And I know, I'm rambling again. So where's that guy? Where's that guy at? Told me to quit rambling. Because you already know I'm the rambling man. If you're here, you know I'm the rambling man. It's just a joke. But anyway, yes, so if you can make videos, do it. And I will promote your videos. And you have my word. Let's get into it. This piece is from NBC News about 3 hours ago, and I'm sure all of you know this. I literally was telling my wife yesterday, I was like, there's going to be a shooting tomorrow. And she was like, oh, how do you figure? And I said, I just know. It's a Friday. It's usually when they would do things like this so they can get a long jump on the weekend with all the propaganda and start Monday morning on deliberations for whatever bill they just introduced. Because they got a whole bunch of them going on right now. But this one says, 8 FedEx employees killed in shooting at Indianapolis facility. Suspect also dead. Imagine that. These, quote, suspects are always just dead. Dead men tell no tales, so now they get to run this and spin it any way they want. No big deal. 8 people were killed after a gunman opened fire at FedEx facility in Indianapolis late Thursday before also killing himself, according to police. 4 other people who were shot and another person who was injured were taken to hospitals, officials said, adding that some may have been privately transported to medical facilities. No law enforcement officers were hurt in the shooting that was carried out by a former employee who last worked at the facility this past fall, authorities said late Friday afternoon. A motive for the attack wasn't immediately clear. And we don't have to go through all the details of the story and whatnot, but I'll just keep reading this part here. The shooting was reported shortly after 11 p.m. Eastern Time, and officers arrived to an active shooter incident, according to police. This suspect came to the facility, and when he came there, he got out of his car and pretty quickly started some random shooting outside the facility. Craig McCart, Deputy Chief of Criminal Investigations for the Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department, said during a news conference Friday morning. And the initial investigation shows there was no disturbance or argument that preempted the shooting, which lasted about 2 minutes. The suspected gunman killed himself shortly before police arrived, he said, adding that investigators believe he had a rifle. Well, of course. Of course he had a rifle. That's what they're getting ready to go after. And these suspects, they always, usually commit suicide. Or they get killed by the police. Or if they are alive, they end up in mental facilities or prison, and they're made out to be insane and put on even more psychotropic drugs. I will be willing to bet that this man was on some form of psychotropic drug, whether it be Prozac or any of the other ones, because that's MK Ultra. There's actually a page in Behold a Pale Horse where Bill Cooper wrote about this type of thing. And of course, this is to foster a sense of insecurity among the American people and get us to want to disarm ourselves, which is happening at an alarming rate because people are really getting out there and they're really, really trying to get gun control bills passed, which eventually they will. And when injustice becomes law, rebellion becomes duty. And I firmly believe that, and I will live by that. I'm not just saying it because I'm not some bullshit artist. That is a fact. They're actually a little behind schedule, I believe. Well, they've been wanting to disarm the American people for a long time. And it was supposed to be after we were disarmed, then they were going to disarm the police after they used the police to disarm us. But now, they're going for it all in one swoop. They're just going to take it all. Because Georgia Guidestones, not sure if it's number 6 or 7, avoid petty laws and useless officials. Useless official would be the American police officer. And they also want to get rid of the American way of policing so they can have the entire world on one policed system. The New World police system. And I will show you an example of that right now. Okay, this one comes to us from a local news station, I believe, out of Chicago, where this happened. But as you can see, they're playing two sides of it. They're demonizing the police also while building them up in order to use them against us, and they're turning us against them at the same time because they're really trying to get us to go against our local police departments and all of that. Because order out of chaos. They have to get us to destroy ourselves. Because the more chaos and the more destruction that they can cause amongst ourselves, the less cleanup they have to do later. But this one reads, Chicago officer ID'd in Adam Toledo deadly shooting, received Superintendent's Award in 2017. More details are surfacing about the Chicago police officer who shot and killed 13-year-old Adam Toledo last month. Well, there's your 13. Officer Eric Stillman, 34, who was named in COPA release Thursday, first joined the department in 2015 after serving in Afghanistan with the Marines. In the 6 years on the force, 3 complaints have been filed against Stillman, and none were sustained. Police said he had never shot anyone on duty before. Quote, "Where you shot, man? Where you shot? Stay with me, end quote. Stillman is heard saying as he begins to render aid to Toledo. Stillman is assigned to the 10th District, which includes Little Village. Police said he's been honored 48 times, including Military Service Award, 39 honorable mentions, and a Crime Reduction and Commendation Award. 2017, he received the prestigious Superintendent's Award of Technical Excellence during a DUI stop that almost turned deadly. Small protests were held Thursday, and more are planned for Friday in wake of the video release. I have not seen the video, so I cannot tell you guys what is in that video, but I can pretty much guess. And this was a 13-year-old boy. In no way am I justifying what this cop did. I do believe that he should be fired. I do believe that there should be an investigation, a real one. And if it's true and this kid did not have a gun, which I currently believe that he did not because he had his hands up and the cop shot him, just from what I gathered, like I said, I haven't seen the video, then yes, this cop should be held accountable for that. But they use stuff like this to turn the public against police as a whole. And it's actually incredibly multifaceted. Because back during when they signed off on the Patriot Act and the police reforms before that, they pretty much gave police free reign over the people. Because they knew human nature would take over and they would abuse their power. They gave them all the tools. They passed down military equipment. And they knew that they would abuse their power. That's what human beings have always done. That is what we will always do. If you get power over somebody else, you will abuse it. Because power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. So they gave them all these tools, and they gave them free reign pretty much to do whatever they needed to do. Because they knew at a later time, when they were ready to get rid of them, they could then bring up all the atrocities that they committed on their behalf, actually. And they could say, oh, look, the police are terrible. We got to get rid of the police because of all this that we allowed them to do. But we're not going to tell you that. Like I said, it's incredibly multifaceted. It always is. Move back to this. That night, in a virtual police board meeting, Chicago Police Superintendent David Brown offered his condolences to the Toledo family, but declined to go into specifics, citing the ongoing investigation. WGN reached out to Stillman and his attorney Friday and did not hear back. He's on administrative duty as COPA continues to investigate the shooting. I believe in one foul swoop they're going to disarm us and the police at the same time. I really hope that I'm wrong about that. I hope that a lot of people in this country see what's going on and they understand and they become smarter than what they are. And they start calling out this agenda for what it is. The problem is that people see all of this as unrelated. Just separate instances, totally unrelated, no big deal. But the fact of the matter is, all media is controlled all the way down to the local media. And I'm sure you've all seen the video of all the local news stations saying the exact same thing verbatim, except for what city they're from. If it ends up on the news, it's part of the agenda. That's something that I've learned over the years. And 10 times out of 10, it's the truth. They don't put anything on the news that is not part of the agenda, whether it be just to shape your mind a certain way, or whether it be to spark outrage, sow more division, you name it. But let's move on. This one left me feeling a little bit uneasy, and this is by Zero Hedge, and it reads, U.S. intelligence issues ominous warning over, quote, sustained economic downturn and other long-term threats. Okay, yeah, we always have to have the long-term threats. Everything is a threat, because then it can be like, oh, we'll save you from this threat. There constantly has to be outside threats. In totalitarianism, Hitler did the same thing. The outside threats in Nazi Germany were the communists, which is ironic, and the Polish, and the fascists, and the United States. And they used that narrative with the oh, there's a threat here, a threat there, so they can pass more laws and take more freedom away from us. Because, we got to address these threats, guys. We have to. And this was April 14th, 2021, so a few days ago. The U.S. intelligence community has warned that the situation will have long-term fallout and will impact political and economic realities across the globe. We already knew that. Those of us who have been reading about the reset, yes, of course, this is manufactured long-term fallout and will impact political and economic realities. This is all manufactured. It's all part of the reset, but they're just kind of leading the sheep, like throwing them a bone here and there. According to the annual threat assessment, which comes on the heels of a separate intelligence report last week, which offers a grim view of global challenges likely to be faced over the next 20 years. The situation is expected to contribute to, quote, humanitarian and economic crises, political unrest, and geopolitical competition, and will strain governments and societies. Gee, I wonder if the only way that we can stop all of this is to create a world government. Because then a world government cannot be strained, because it'll be all governments working together in harmony. And they can save all of us from these humanitarian and economic crises and political unrest and geopolitical competition. We can eliminate that, because there will be no competition if we have one world government. Yeah, we could just eliminate the need for competition altogether. And, we can have one society. That way nobody is falling behind, and it'll be more inclusive and sustainable and whatever other buzzwords they use that royally piss me off every time I hear them. Every single time I hear a commercial talk about, sustained and, inclusive, I get so mad. By the way, on a separate note, I just remembered that the movie Songbird is now available to watch on Hulu. And for those of you who don't know what Songbird is, it is a movie about basically totalitarianism and the current situation we have right now escalating, and it's literally just predictive programming. I'm going to get my wife to want to watch it with me later on. She'll sit there and enjoy it and whatnot, because she likes to enjoy movies, but I'll sit there and I'll be like, okay, let me see here. I'll be like a mad scientist, like have like my whole wall just like the pictures and stuff, like in the police station when they're looking for somebody. And I'll be like, okay, so earlier this happened, and back here I seen this and that, and just being dumb. Yep, so I'm going to check that out later on, because I have not watched the movie, and I'm sure I will have a lot to say on it. And if I can go live, hopefully I can go live soon, I will live stream my reaction to that movie and what I have to say about it after I deconstruct it, put it all in a presentation, and bring it to you guys. Anyway, quote, the economic fallout from the situation is likely to create or worsen instability in at least few and perhaps many countries, as people grow more desperate in the face of interlocking pressures that include sustained economic downturns, job losses, and disrupted supply chains, the report warns. What's more, food shortages and uneven access to situation treatments will contribute to humanitarian concerns. While the situation will remain a threat to populations worldwide until, there's that word, the V word, and therapeutics are widely distributed. The report also warns that a new wave of infections earlier this year may have an even greater economic impact, as struggling businesses in hard-hit sectors, such as tourism and restaurants, fold and governments face increasing budget strains. In addition to the situation-related warnings, the report also predicts that Russia and China will continue to hatch covert influence operations to blame populist victories on, and that Iran will continue to violate the 2015 nuclear agreement. According to the report, China presents a growing influence threat in the United States and has been intensifying efforts to shape the political environment in the United States to promote its policy preferences, mold public discourse, pressure political figures whom Beijing believes oppose its interest, and muffle criticism of China on such issues as religious freedom and the suppression of democracy in Hong Kong. Yeah, that's... Never mind all of this. They all work together. I don't know how many times we have to say to the normies out there that they all work together. All the governments in the world work together. And they do things like this for many reasons, but one of the main reasons is, how likely is it that people in the United States would want to get in contact with people from China or from Russia? Not very likely. You see, if they're going to do this and they're going to bring about this new world order, they have to make sure that people in the world don't start talking to each other in different countries and pointing out the lies and the holes in their narrative. Can you imagine what it would be like if one day we all just woke up and we all knew exactly what was going on, as we all do, and we were ready to take action? It wouldn't even take a half hour. They would have nowhere to go. The report also warns of, here we go, domestic extremism, as the threat from foreign terrorist organizations such as ISIS and Al-Qaeda has apparently abated. Instead, white supremacy is now the threat, which have led to at least 26 lethal attacks that killed more than 141 people and for dozens of disrupted plots in the West since 2015. For the sake of comparison, that's fewer people killed in 6 years than the 170 homicides in Chicago year to date, primarily committed by black extremists against other black extremists, so to speak. This goes with of course, the race narrative. They have to single out groups. You know, when they came for the trade unionists, I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. All the way down to when they came for me, there was no one left to speak. That's what's going on right now. And it looks like, and it's not even just white supremacy, people see this and they're like, oh, it's that guy down the road who's plotting to go out and start harming people of different cultures and stuff. No. Doing what I'm doing and what others are doing, they would see that, and that would fall under the purview of, quote, white supremacy. Go look at the definition in the Domestic Terrorist Prevention Act of 2021. You would be amazed. And you also got to think of the 72 types of Americans that are considered terrorists. I remember that one that I came on here and read where it came up and I was reading that they were going to use all the tools at their disposal developed for the global war on terror to combat, quote, domestic extremism. That means that all the nice little tools and toys and policies that we all got behind when it was for other countries, after, we thought they brought our buildings down in New York City, are now going to be used on us. While these extremists often see themselves as part of a broader global movement, most attacks have been carried out by individuals or small independent cells, or reads. Australia, Germany, Norway, and the United Kingdom consider white, racially, or ethnically motivated violent extremists, including neo-Nazi groups, to be the fastest growing terrorist threat they face. The American people should know as much as possible about the threats facing our nation and what their intelligence agencies are doing to protect them, said Avril Haines, Director of National Intelligence, in a statement accompanying the report. In short, fear everything and expect the aforementioned go-to narratives. Well, gee. Let's dissect this little quote that this woman said. The American people should know as much as possible. As much as possible, that means as much as they're willing to tell you, about the threats facing our nation and what their intelligence agencies are doing to protect them. Well, you see, if they're going to start singling out groups one by one, eventually it gets down to the last group, and then what do you think's going to happen? You're going to be like, oh, yes, our intelligence agencies have protected us so well, there's no more threats that we face. And then guess what? Oh, now you're the threat. Boom, divide and conquer. It works every time. Every time. Every single society, every single tyrannical government has always used divide and conquer. And it works because they focus on the surface differences that we all have. We know we're all different. Of course we're all different. God created us as individuals. Of course we are different. But they like to highlight that, and they like to sensationalize that in order to get you to turn against, well, me, or your friend, or your neighbor, or whoever. It doesn't matter. Right now, it just so happens to be, what do they call it? White supremacy. And that definition, it's not just the guy down the street who is going to commit acts against people that are different than him. No. No. They're calling anything that nowadays. If you own a firearm, you're a white supremacist. These are buzzwords in order to get the people behind them, because all they have to do is slap that label on you and nobody will even look into you. If they came and they took me out, or anybody, and they put on the news that I was some white supremacist and domestic extremist and this and that, and I owned a firearm, whatever, then people wouldn't even look into who I actually am. No, they would just believe the news, and they would be like, oh, this guy was just some domestic extremist white supremacist. Good thing he's gone. Not knowing that I am none of those things. I'm just a man who cares about freedom. That's it. I care about freedom. I care about my fellow man. And I don't get embarrassed or offended when people call me kid, by the way. People call me kid all the time. It's all right. I look a lot younger than I am. It's okay. I don't get mad about it. It's nothing. But this is what they do. They get on here and they highlight the differences, and they're like, oh, hate your neighbor, white supremacist. Or look down here. They're talking about, for the sake of comparison, that's fewer people killed in 6 years than the 170 homicides in Chicago year to date, primarily committed by black extremists against other black extremists, so to speak. So they already got a term for that. Black extremists. They literally have it all worked out. They got all the kinks worked out, and they are implementing this. This is part of the Great Reset. This is part of the societal reset portion of the Great Reset. They couldn't get away with any of this at all whatsoever if we were not going along with it. They wouldn't be able to do any of this. But we're still going to go along with it because, well, let's face it, the vast majority of people in the United States and in the world, well, I can't really speak for the world because I've never been out of the country, but the vast majority of people in the United States are just lost. And I always think back to what the Bible says, what the Lord Yeshua, Jesus, said. My people shall perish for a lack of knowledge. that probably didn't make sense in any other time than right now. And we're literally in the age of information. You have a computer in your hand right now watching me. Everything that has ever been known, you can get right now at the click of a button. Never ever before has that been possible. It's going to get real, guys, and they're already telling us. Long-term threats, sustained economic downturn. And they're going to be like, oh, hey, I have an idea. We don't have to have this economy anymore. We can have a global cryptocurrency system, a new economy, and there will be no economic downturn because we'll all be on the same level. We'll all be, and they make it sound so good. But the fact of the matter is, the same level we will be on is in the dirt. You will own nothing and you will be happy. Moving on. I probably should have saved this one for an Odysee video, but I had to bring it on here because there's more people on here to get this out to. And I hope this video doesn't get taken down. If it does, I will be suspended for 2 weeks on AFO2, and I will be on my main channel. Also, I'm going to leave links for Austin from Ohio 3 and 4 and my Odysee in the description box, and I will also make a pinned comment, because I'm not short on names for backup channels. Russian scientists plan to launch world's first edible. You can read that, and promise it will taste like fermented milky yogurt. Gee, that sounds good. Not. With scientists warning regular might become a feature of our lives for years to come. Anyone with a fear of needles might soon be breathing a sigh of relief if a team of scientists from St. Petersburg get their way. Oh, see, it's all right if you fear needles. It's okay. You can just eat it. Russia's Institute of Experimental Medicine is now reportedly carrying out trials of the world's first blah, blah, blah that could be drunk from a bottle. Given the number of syringes and the time healthcare professionals need to give, it is hoped that formula could speed up the process of immunizing millions of people while leaving a pleasant taste in the mouths of those who'd rather not roll up their sleeves. Alexander Dmitriev, top buffin at the Russian Academy of Sciences, told RIA Novosti Friday that preclinical studies of the yogurt-based V are now underway and could be completed within a year. According to him, experts, shadow group of experts. Who are the experts? Anyway, according to him, experts put the cost of bringing the formula to patients at up to 220 million rubles, which is 2.9 million US dollars. We're currently looking for opportunities to secure the extra funding, Dmitriev said. Answering the question everyone was wondering, Alexander Suvorov, another scientist who has worked on the idea of needle-free V, told reporters that it would taste almost exactly like a popular local dairy drink known as Ryazhenka. No idea what that is. If anybody from Russia is on here, could you tell me what that is, please? Ryazhenka. The fermented baked milk-based beverage is beloved in Russia and Ukraine and tastes not dissimilar to kefir or soured milk. However, the team warns that its recipe shouldn't be seen just yet as an easy answer to end the situation. Quote, "We are moving forward very carefully in order to avoid a situation where any new medical product begins to be perceived as a panacea that will save humanity. In January, one of Russia's top medical scientists, Albert Rizvanov, the director of the Center for Precision and Regenerative Medicine at Kazan Federal University, announced that the country would have to learn to live alongside the situation for years to come. Of course, they're going to keep this going forever. And again, I will reference Klaus Schwab in the book, The Great Reset. Quote, many of us are pondering when life will return to normal. The short response is never, end quote. Quote, there are seasonal diseases that usually die out in late spring and early summer, the academic said. He added that, like them, the situation I think will stop spreading in Russia this summer. It seems that situation will become another one of the seasonal pathogens that cause respiratory illness. Fears that new variants could sweep through society on a regular basis have sent pharmaceutical giants scrambling to ensure they can make new formulas to protect people from the situation. Oh yeah, to protect people. They're doing a really good job of that. On Thursday, CEO of American drug maker PF, Albert Bourla, said that those who had received these would likely require a third dose within a year, and opened up the possibility that annual immunizations would be required. There's the verbiage that we were looking for. Required. Oh, this is gonna get this video taken right down. Earlier this month, the makers of Russia's Sputnik V CJ said that they had developed new technology that would allow them to adapt and update their formula within 48 hours in response to the emergence of new variants. While questions about how long a revised edition of the would have to be tested for and if this could delay the process, Alexander Ginsburg of Moscow's Gamaleya Institute said that, quote, if it gives the same adequate protective effect against a new strain as it does with the original, Ginsburg said you could immediately launch it to mass production. I'm going to go ahead and qualify my statements to help this video not get taken down. Everything that I'm telling you is my opinion. If this helps at all, educational purposes, and this falls under the fair use. So that should help a little bit. Let's move on. Speaking of Russia, and this is from usnews.com, Russia fires back at U.S. sanctions as relations worsen, pledging reciprocal measures. Fiery rhetoric from the Kremlin comes as the British government confirms Russian intelligence agency SVR was behind the sweeping SolarWinds attack revealed last year. And they do this. They go back and forth. Under Trump, it was China was the boogeyman. Now under Biden, Russia is now the new boogeyman. And all that stuff with his son and Ukraine, that's all trivial stuff to keep you busy, to keep you occupied while they roll out Agenda 21. People are running around talking about, oh, the Joe Biden's son this, Joe Biden's son that. Yes, of course, that's something that's terrible and maybe should be addressed slightly. But in no way is it a major event that is urgent right now. How does that affect your life right now? The answer is, it does not. Literally just to keep you busy. Nothing's going to happen with that. So, not even going to comment on that one. Moscow on Thursday expressed outrage at new sanctions the Biden administration imposed as retribution for the SolarWinds hack. It attributes to Russia's Foreign Intelligence Service, saying it would respond in kind. Threat comes as relations between the two powers reach dangerous levels of tension. And right here it says, read, Russia threatens U.S., NATO action against action in Ukraine. This could be perceived as them setting up for a false flag. Like, maybe the EMP. Russia would be a good scapegoat for that. People would believe it. It would work. Just pointing out possibilities. Quote, "We consider them illegal," Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov told reporters Thursday morning in response to news reports about the sanctions, but before the administration had formally announced them. According to a translation, quote, "The principle of reciprocity in this matter, reciprocity is in effect so that we can ensure our best interests." President Joe Biden and Russian President Vladimir Putin spoke by phone earlier this week, and in the call, Biden proposed a meeting between the two leaders. Peskov on Thursday cast doubt on prospects for that happening, saying the new sanctions, quote, "in no way contribute to such a meeting." Yeah, I'm sure they did talk on the phone. It was like, "Hey, yo, Vlad. Hey, man. So how are we going to make this look good? How are we going to make it look like we're actually enemies?" And they probably laughed about it, and they probably laughed how stupid we are and all of this. The new sanctions against Russia, the first under Biden, targets a series of its financial institutions as well as 16 organizations and 16 individuals in Russia. The U.S. believes they were closely aligned to the sweeping hacking effort revealed in December that deeply infiltrated government servers. The hack became known as SolarWinds, named after the company whose software the hackers exploited to gain access. It's kind of funny because don't they also say that EMPs could be caused by solar winds? That's what they say. Kind of weird that that's called that. They could be warning us with their little hints that they drop from time to time. And they can either go with that or they can go with the hacking, but this is putting it in your mind. Russia, solar winds, hacking. So they can blame either one of those three things, no problem. Power goes out tomorrow. Let's say you only have radio or something, or let's say all the power goes out except for like cell phone, just for the time being, because they'll eventually shut that off. Under Donald Trump, they were testing that, emergency alert service thing where they texted all of our phones, and FEMA did or something like that, and they did it was a test. Yeah. Let's say the power goes out tomorrow. Biden uses that national alert to tell us that Russia is responsible now for an EMP, and they're working very hard to get the country back open again. And that could also mask the collapse of the economy, collapse of society in general. Shortly after the U.S. announced the sanctions, the U.K. made known for the first time that British intelligence has concluded that Russia's Foreign Intelligence Service, or SVR, was behind the SolarWinds attack. A statement from the UK Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office said the hack was part of a wider pattern of cyber instructions by the SVR, who have previously attempted to gain access to governments across Europe and NATO members. U.S. intelligence agencies concluded in January that some element of the Russian government was likely behind the attack. The Biden administration at the time pledged other forms of retaliation. Gee, I wonder what that could be. The moves announced Thursday also include the expulsion of 10 diplomats from the Russian embassy in Washington, D.C., which the U.S. said in fact worked for Russia's intelligence services. Following the Kremlin's threats Thursday morning, the U.S. embassy in Moscow will likely face similar demands from Russia. Oh yeah, and they're playing this game like, oh, we expelled 10 of their diplomats. Oh man, no, he probably went in there and was like, hey guys, so you're going to go home, all good, no problem. And they're making it seem like he told them, get the hell out of here. We don't want you around here anymore. You're the enemy. No. This is all, remember what I said earlier? If it makes it in the news, it serves the narrative. And really, that's all you have to do when reading the news and stuff. You just have to think, how does this benefit the agenda for world government? And usually you can lead your thoughts to a conclusion that is often correct. I'm not going to read much more of this because I wanted to bring something else up. But the moves are likely to further deteriorate our already worsening tensions between Russia and the West. So basically, tensions. Russia buildup of UN troops, levels unseen since initial incursions into Ukrainian territory. Because they're going to... Here's the thing. On the map from the Club of Rome for world government, with the 10 regions, Ukraine is part of Russia again. It's a restored Soviet Union. That will happen. So if you live in Ukraine, once they fully implement this thing, you are going to be absorbed back into Russia, but we're all going to be under one tent. It's really hard to explain, but anyway, let's move on. This is a PDF that I downloaded, and it's 15 pages, so we're going to read a decent amount of it. I don't know if I'm going to get through the whole thing, because I have to clear some space on my phone, so I'm not sure how much I'll be able to get through, but we're going to start it. And this is the 10-point plan of the New World Order, or how to prepare the way of the Antichrist. The 10-point charter of Alice Bailey, adopted by the United Nations, is the strategy, and the purpose is to change Judeo-Christian tradition, or to redeem the nations from Judeo-Christian tradition. Number 1, take God and prayer out of the education system. Done. Already done. And Alice Bailey said, change curriculum to ensure that children are freed from bondage of Christian culture. Why? Because children go to school to be equipped to face life. They are willing to trust, and they are willing to value what is being given to them. If you take God out of education, they will unconsciously form a resolve that God is not necessary to face life. They will focus on those things that school counts them worthy to be passed on, and they will look at God as an additional, if one can afford the additional. Also, if they take God out of the schools for the children, who becomes the God? The state. Yes. Number 2, reduce parental authority over the children. Done, and more done. She said, quote, break the communication between parent and child. Why? So that parents do not pass on their Christian traditions to their children and liberate children from the bondage of their parent traditions. You also have to remember, this New World Order, all religions must be destroyed. Christianity, Judaism, Islam, anything else. It's going to be the New Age, Luciferian religion. And it says, how? Promote excessive child rights. 1997 and 1998, South Africa introduced child rights legislation. UNICEF Charter. Today, a child is able to say to the parent, I do not want to hear that. I don't want to do what you are telling me. Teachers cannot talk to children. Children step up and say, I have my rights. You cannot talk to me like that. How many children run around telling their parents that they're not doing that? You can't tell me to do this. B, abolish corporal punishment. This has been made law. On the other hand, the Bible says, do not withhold correction from a child, for if you beat him with a rod, he will not die. You shall beat him with a rod and deliver his soul from hell. I believe in that. I firmly believe in that. My dad whooped my ass when I was a kid when I did something wrong, and you know what? I'm a better man today for it. So thank you, Dad. I know that you watch some of my videos. If you're seeing this one, thank you. I might have hated you at the time, but I sure respect you now. And here's a little note. Jesus said in the last days, wickedness will increase. There will be rebellion and children will not obey their parents. It is not a trend, it is organized. Teachers are agents of implementation. From workshops, teachers tell children your parent has no right to force you to pray or read the Bible. You are yourself have a right of your own. You need to discover yourself. Self-expression, self-realization, self-fulfillment are all buzzwords. In the West, when the child is 7 years old, teachers begin to say to the child, you have a right to choose whether you want to follow the faith of your parents or not. Parents are not allowed to enforce the faith upon you. The question is, what type of decision can a 7-year-old make? And that reminds me how they're giving kids, well, I don't know how to say this without referencing the situation going on. They're giving children the ability to decide for themselves that they want to take the miracle cure. Anyway, number 3, destroy the Judeo-Christian family structure or the traditional Christian family structure. Why? She said, Alice Bailey, it is oppressive and that the family is the core of the nation. If you break the family, you break the nation. Liberate the people from the confines of this structure. How? Promote sexual promiscuity. Free young people to the concept of premarital sex. Let them have free sex. Lift it so high that the joy of enjoying it is the highest joy in life. Fantasize it that everybody will feel proud to be seen sexually active, even those outside of marriage. And note, this is contrary to what the Word of God says, but fornication and all uncleanness or covetousness, let it not even be named among you, as it's fitting for saints. For this you know, that no fornicator, unclean person, nor covetous man who is an idolater has any inheritance in the kingdom of Christ and God. How true is that? How many kids are running around nowadays proud that they just had sex? Not even just children. How many people are running around sleeping with all types of different people, giving a piece of themselves away to all these types of different people, and they think that there is no consequences for that, and it's a good thing, it's honorable, and if you don't go and sleep around, well, if you're a male and you don't go and sleep around, you're not seen as who knows? I don't even know what the hell they're talking about. But yes, children, you can go right now on the internet and look up pornography. Children are doing that. We're at the point now to where the sexual promiscuity is so high that you see little children just, it makes me so mad, being provocative. And it pains me to see that. It really does. They're winning this war so far, guys. But in the end, we win, so. Use advertising industry, media, TV, magazines, film industry to promote sexual enjoyment as the highest pleasure in humanity. And it just says how they succeeded. We know that they have. And it says here, the advertising industry does everything to catch your attention. And today, almost no advert comes out without a sexual connotation. Even when they advertise ice cream, they must show you a thigh of a woman in bikini. They must do something to set off a trail of thoughts. They will show you more thighs than ice cream. Why? Because that is what must be in the minds of the people. In the advertising industry, multi-billion-dollar machine shapes and controls ideas, culture, with its propaganda from the New World Order. If sex is free, then make abortion legal. and make it easy. She said, build clinics for abortion, health clinics in schools. If people are going to enjoy the joy of sexual relationships, they need to be free of unnecessary fears. In other words, they should not be hampered with unwanted pregnancies. Abortion, as told by Christians, is oppressive and denies our rights. We have a right to choose whether we want to have a child or not. If a woman does not want the pregnancy, she should have the freedom to get rid of that pregnancy painless and as easy as possible. Today, abortion is not only accessible, but many times it may be forced. Strategy to curb population control together with the use of condoms and the pill. I think it's some 68 million children have been aborted since, I forget the year. I think it was the 70s or 80s. Somebody correct me on that, please. Make divorce easy and legal. Free people from concept of marriage for life. Alice wrote 50 years ago that love has got a mysterious link called the love bond. It's like an ovum that comes out of the ovary. As it travels through your system, it clicks a love favor in you, and there's one other person in the world who can respond to that love bond. When you see that person, everything within you clicks. That is your man/woman. If you miss him, you'll never be happy until that love bond cycle's passed for many years. So for you to be happy, get that person at whatever cost. If it means getting him/her out of that marriage, get him/her, that is your man/woman. It's a mistake for him/her to be elsewhere. Blah, 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 blah. We'll kind of skip down through this because not sure how limited I am on time, already an hour in. But God says he hates divorce. People enter into marriage having signed contracts of how they will share their things after divorce. People enter with one foot and another behind. 50 years ago, divorce was unthinkable. It's one thing for a marriage to fail, but it's another thing for people to enter marriage with an intention to enjoy it as long as it was enjoyable and to walk out of it. Make homosexuality an alternative lifestyle. Alice Bailey preached that sexual enjoyment is the highest pleasure in humanity. No one must be denied, and no one must be restricted out to enjoy themselves. People should be allowed in whichever way they choose what they want, whether it's homosexuality or an incest or bestiality, as long as the two agree. Ain't that something? Ain't that something? And it says, many nations around the world passing laws that legalize homosexual and gay marriage. It is now classified as hate speech and becoming illegal for ministers, organizations to mention homosexuality as an abomination in the eyes of God, or to read scriptures publicly that talk about homosexuality. Today, the church is expected to marry gays, lesbians. According to the Bible, this is an abomination before the eyes of God. Debase art. Make it run mad. Alice Bailey understood that the arts are one of the primary keys to change culture. Of course. Promote new forms of art which will corrupt and defile the imagination of people, because art is the language of the spirit. That which is inside you can bring out in painting, music, drama, etc. Look at the quality spiritually and message of the art, music, and the films that are coming out. Use media to promote and change mindset. This is number 8. Alice Bailey said the greatest channel you need to use to change human attitude is media. Use the press, radio, TV, cinema. You could tell how successful they've been implementing the plan over the last 50 years via media, as well as advertising agencies, billboards, magazines. Who controls the media? NWO. So much money is pumped into the media and advertising, and the spreading of violence, pornographic material, and other sources. Sex outside of marriage is thrown in your face 80 to 90 times more than sex in marriage. Promiscuity is being promoted as natural. You watch gay sex on TV, in homes where children's minds are being neutralized to sensitivity to these things. You wonder why newspapers, TV, etc. do not record anything about Christian activities. Background on the power of television. Most kids plug into the world of television long before they enter school, according to the Kaiser Family Foundation. 2/3 of infants and toddlers watch screen average of 2 hours a day. Kids under age 6 watch an average of 2 hours of screen media a day, primarily TV and videos or DVDs. Kids and teens 8 to 18 years spend nearly 4 hours a day in front of a TV screen and almost 2 additional hours on the computer outside of schoolwork and playing video games. Television statistics. According to AC Nielsen Company, the average American watches more than 4 hours of television each day, or 28 hours a week, or 2 months of nonstop television per year. In a 65-year life, that person will have spent 9 years glued to the tube, or almost 15% of their life. How much more apparent is this today with the adoption of tablets, phones? Parents are literally giving their 2-year-olds tablets because they don't want them to bother them when they're doing something on their tablet or whatever. Here you go, sit in front of this screen. Terrible. Terrible. Just absolutely fucking terrible. And again, I apologize for any women that are listening. I'm sorry. I just get such a headache sometimes listening to this. And my father always told me to be respectful, when ladies are listening. And I really apologize for that. I do have a potty mouth, but I try to keep it out of my videos. And sometimes I can't. I can't. And this is just like a bunch of reading about children and whatnot, and people watching television, and we know about all this, so I'm just going to skip down a little bit. We know about all this. Okay, here we go. Number 9, create an interfaith movement. Alice Bailey wrote, promote other faiths to be at par with Christianity. I break this thing about Christianity as being the only way to heaven. By that, Christianity will be pulled down and other faiths promoted. She said, promote the importance of man in determining his own future and destiny. Humanism. Tell a man he has the right to choose what he wants to be and he can make it happen. He has the right to determine his cause. And number 10, get governments to make all of these the law and get the church to endorse these changes. And Alice Bailey wrote, the church must change its doctrine and accommodate the people by accepting these things and put them into its structures and systems. There's a lot of stuff here. And it says, have they succeeded? You wonder why governments are legislating laws contrary to the Bible and why the church is compromising the Word of God. It's a process of implementing this 10-point plan, a 50-year strategy of the New World Order to fulfill its ultimate goal to establish a one-world government, one world economic system, one world religion. Today, the strategy, almost in its entirety, has been adopted by the United Nations, and today a lot is already law in many nations. This deception has crept up by increments, unobserved by most people. It can be best demonstrated through the well-known analogy of the frog in the pot of water. And we know about that. Put a frog in a pot of boiling water, it's smart enough to know that it's in terrible danger, and will immediately jump out to safety. But if you turn up the heat very slowly, little at a time, it does not notice changes that they are taking place and will slowly cook to death. Many people today are slowly cooking to death and don't seem to realize how far they've come from where they once were. Older people might, but today the Western world is not struggling to resist these because the NWO and the New Age movement focused primarily on the West, because that was the Christian world in the 19th century. The New Age movement has a school called the Akani School, which is the school of all of the leaders of the Western world. They subscribe to it. It's recorded that they say they have succeeded the task in the West, but suddenly they realize Christianity has migrated to the rest of the world. So they have now to use every resource in the West to deal with the rest of the world. That's a beautiful thing. It's interesting to note that Blavatsky, Besant, and Alice Bailey were well-known Masonic leaders of the day. Albert Pike referred to Freemasonry as the custodian, special guardian of these occult secrets, and revealed the hidden agenda of his institution, the forming of a Luciferic one-world government. Yes. His book, Morals and Dogma on the Ancient and Accepted Scottish Rite of Freemasonry. We will go through the rest of this tomorrow. This is a background on how the teachings of Alice Bailey are foundational to the United Nations. But we'll stop up here for today because we're pretty far in. Let's pray. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from the evil one. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever and ever. Amen.